Today, we're going on a bit of a historical treasure hunt. We're stepping back, way back, over 1,000 years to dig into a mystery that's whispered about in the very foundations of England. We're chasing the echoes of a place that could literally rewrite history, Athelstan's lost library. No, really, just stop and think about that for a second. A whole library, just gone, for a millennium. We're not just talking about some dusty books. We're talking about a treasure trove of knowledge from an age we barely have a window into. What kind of forgotten science, what untold stories, what completely different views of the world could be waiting on those shelves? So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to dive deep into these echoes of Winchester. We'll piece together the clues, explore the legend, and try to figure out what it would mean if this ghost of a library was actually real. Let's get started. Right, so our story really begins with a rumor, a legend that's been driving historians crazy for generations. The idea of a library, and not just any library, a royal one, that seems to have just vanished. Poof, gone from the historical record. And at the heart of this whole mystery is a collection of knowledge supposedly put together by the very first king of England, a guy named Athelstan. For something that important to disappear so completely for over 1,000 years, that's not just a historical accident. That's a genuine riddle that is begging to be solved. So to even begin to understand the library, you have to understand the man. Who was King Athelstan? And well, the answer might actually surprise you. See, when we think of Athelstan, if we think of him at all, we picture a warrior king, right? The guy who forged the kingdom of England on the battlefield. But that's only half the story. The other half, the scholar, the patron of learning, that's the key to this whole mystery. Turns out he wasn't just building a kingdom of land, he was trying to build a kingdom of ideas. You have to picture his world. It was this incredible web of intellectual exchange. He was actively supporting scholars, collecting books from all over Europe through his family and political connections. And his capital, Winchester, it wasn't just some military fort. It was a buzzing intellectual hub for the 10th century. A guy like that, in a place like that, well, he wouldn't just want a library, he would absolutely need one. And this is where it gets really exciting. This is the part of the puzzle that gives me goosebumps. If this library was real, what was in it? The possibilities are, well, they're just staggering. And we're not just talking about cool old books here. We're talking about a potential bridge across a 1,000-year gap in our knowledge, a direct line into the minds of the people living in the 10th century. Okay, just imagine this. We could find entirely new histories of the Anglo-Saxons, told in their own words. Maybe find the lost heroic poems that we only have tiny hints of, like the famous Finnesburg fragment. Or what about astronomical charts that could completely reshape what we think they knew about the stars? Medical texts with cures and procedures that have been lost to time. Maybe even some of the first ever maps of England, showing how the very first English king saw his own kingdom. It's mind-boggling. And that is why this search matters so much. This isn't just about finding some old stuff. Finding this library would fundamentally change how we see the so-called Dark Ages. It would be concrete proof that this was an era of profound intellectual light, an era that really did lay the groundwork for modern Europe. Okay, so the stakes are obviously huge, but how on earth do we even start looking for something that's been missing for a millennium? It takes a very special kind of historical detective work. It's like trying to find a ghost. The hunt basically happens on two fronts at the same time. On one hand, you're in the archives, patiently digging through mountains of ancient documents, just hoping for one overlooked clue, a little note in a monk's inventory, a mention in a land deed. And then, at the very same time, you're out there, on the ground, in Winchester, using modern tech to look for clues buried right under our feet. So what are they actually looking for? It's not like they expect to find a perfectly preserved building. They're looking for an anomaly, a ghost in the ground. Using things like ground-penetrating radar, archaeologists can see disturbances under the soil. Maybe the faint outline of a foundation wall that doesn't match any known building. That is how you find a ghost. Which brings us to the final and, maybe the most haunting part of this whole story. It's the riddle that sits right at the heart of the entire legend. This is the question that keeps historians up at night. If this incredible treasure of knowledge really existed, why did it disappear so completely? Was it destroyed in some catastrophic fire? Sacked by invaders? Or, and this is a fun one to think about, was it hidden on purpose? Its contents deemed too powerful, maybe even too dangerous. The total silence in the historical record, that's a clue in itself. It suggests something sudden, something final happened. In the end, whether the library is ever found or just remains a legend, its story tells us something really important about ourselves. We're just drawn to these mysteries, to this idea that there's lost knowledge out there waiting to be found. It's a powerful reminder that history isn't some closed book. It's a living story, with whole chapters still waiting to be discovered. Athelstan's library. It might just be one of countless treasures buried under our feet or hiding in plain sight in some dusty archive. Its legend challenges us to keep looking, to keep asking questions, and to always, always wonder, what other secrets does history still have to tell us?